Hey, it's Props, back with another episode of the music review series. Today we're gonna have some fun, well I'm gonna have some fun, because we're reviewing Linkin Park, 1,000 Suns. This is the fourth full-length record from alternative rap metal group Linkin Park, released around the time when the band was going through a big genre shift and changing up their style a lot. I should probably open this review by saying that I am a big Linkin Park fan. The shirt. But I'm going to try as hard as possible to put my bias aside and look at this album as if I'd never heard it before. Let's see how well I can do that. Now, looking at the record that preceded this one, Minutes to Midnight, that album was a massive shift in direction from Meteora, their sophomore record. It was very clear that the band wasn't entirely sure on this album what kind of style to settle with. The track listing was a mix of very heavy tracks like Given Up and more softer tracks like Leave Out All the Rest and the closer, The Little Things Give You Away. Though this record did explore some pretty cool ideas, and there are some good songs on this album, it felt like this record needed some more time cooking in the oven, shall we say. Because there were a fair few songs on this album that sounded like kind of polished demos, particularly the track In Between, which feels so unfinished, it's kind of crazy. But then once we got this album, it was clear that the band took the whole changing style thing into a whole new ballpark, because this is no doubt their most experimental album that they ever released. And I'm even including their latest album, One More Light, under that statement. Because with that album, even though it was a huge change in style, it wasn't particularly unique in its choice of genre. And look, I enjoyed that album, but it is clearly pop. While 1,000 Suns, on the other hand, there aren't many albums that I've listened to anyway that are satisfyingly weird as this one. Songs such as The Catalyst, When They Come For Me, Blackout, Waiting For The End, they all seem to fall under like a myriad of different genres that come together in this very interesting and compelling way. Now, I must admit that when I first heard the album, I didn't particularly care for it. I thought it was easily their weakest album. But now, after hearing it from start to finish, all the way through, fully interpreting every single track on this 15-track album, yeah, I think this is probably the best album they've ever released. I know that may come across as a bit controversial, considering that the legendary Hybrid Theory is involved in that ranking. But when I think of an experience I've had while listening to an album from start to finish, there aren't many that compare to this album. The fantastic themes of nuclear warfare, combined with its depiction of mental health, is amazing. This album is sort of classified as conceptual, with how the portrayal of humanity's omnicide builds up throughout, but I feel like there is more to it than that. What that more is can be interpreted differently by every listener, which I find to be an amazing concept when mixed together with this warfare narrative. When this album got to its latter stages, or more specifically the final 5 tracks, I pretty much had goosebumps on my skin the entire time. And on that topic, Burning in the Skies, when combined with the opening tracks, The Requiem and The Radiance, is probably the best introduction to an album I've ever heard. I cannot get enough of the beginning and the end of this album. And that's not to say that every track in the middle is bad or forgettable, because I don't think there's a song on this album that I particularly dislike. Waiting For The End comes smack bang in the middle of this track list, and I think that's probably the most underrated Linkin Park single ever. And the song that precedes Waiting For The End, Blackout, contains one of my favourite scream vocals on any song ever by anyone. Not to mention how soft this track becomes towards the end. It's an outstanding listen. And on the topic of becoming softer at the end, I have to mention the closing track, The Messenger. I first listened to this song outside of the context of the whole album, and I thought it was pretty cheesy. But once hearing it, while listening to this album from the beginning to the end, I love it. It's so amazing. And I think that's a good place to start addressing the critiques I have towards this album. There are a few songs here that I can't really listen to without listening to the whole album, like The Messenger or The Catalyst, Robot Boy. These are all songs that I do like, but whenever I try to listen to them outside of listening to the whole album, I don't know, it just doesn't have the same effect. I don't even think that's that bad of a critique, considering that is obviously the intention. But I think that just kind of holds the album back for me, because I can't just add one of these songs to like a playlist. I pretty much have to listen to the whole album if I want to get the experience. I also didn't particularly care for the song Wretches and Kings. I don't hate the song, I just don't particularly like it. There is something a bit strange about the very experimental electronic instrumental. Like, in one way, I think this album could be instrumentally stronger in a few places, but then in another way, I think the very off-the-wall and sharp electronic synths, leads, and even samples really is effective in pulling off the frightening atmosphere of the world ending. I don't think this album would have anywhere near the same effect if it didn't have that strange experimental feel to it. Overall, this is one of my favourite albums ever. I think there are many great moments here. And once you've grasped even a small understanding of what is being told conceptually, it makes this album an outstanding listen. I'd give this album a great rating. I wouldn't give it the top tier excellent because every song has to be pretty much excellent. And there are a few moments in the middle of the track listing that get a bit too weird for my taste. But that isn't to say that I dislike any song on this album. I think any album that falls into the excellent tier would have to be absolutely mind-blowingly insane. I'm very interested to see how many I'd give excellent. But this album is a huge testament to why concepts and themes are so important to me when I'm giving a rating. Because this album has an amazing concept. There aren't many records that stick with me for ages after I've listened to them, but this is 100% one of them. I am very proud to own this album. Anyway, that's it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Remember, this is just my opinion. I can't change yours, and I wouldn't want to. And yeah, peace out.